Excellent. All right, well, welcome everyone. This is Kristen Everdahl, the Cannabis Program Manager for the County of Mendocino. I want to welcome you all to our portal application information session here on July 28th. As many of you might notice, I do have a bit of a cold, so I will do my best to mute my microphone as I sneeze, and I might have to blow my nose or clear my throat. So my apologies there, but we'll do our best to get through it. And I will try not to trouble you with my not feeling so well, and no camera for me today. So I apologize. You're going to get just the slideshow and my voice today, as I am fairly under the weather. So let's see here. Okay. So in today's session, we're going to cover the following topics. We're going to kind of walk through the frequently asked questions. A lot of this is repeat from last week, although I did ask or add a few questions that came up last week and that staff talked about in response this week and since last week's presentation. We will provide a tour of the portal itself. So we'll be walking through what the portal looks like on the inside. And then we'll be talking about some tips for successful submission through the portal. So helpful tips to engaging in this informational session. Please do use the Q&A feature to ask your question. You can do this at any time in the presentation. So if we get to a spot where we're looking at a slide, we're talking about a topic, and we don't answer your question, feel free to type it into the Q&A feature. And then we will make time at the end of the presentation for questions, not just questions from folks who have access to the chat feature, but also if you're calling in on your phone, we'll make time for questions from callers as well. So the Q&A feature will be located at the bottom of the viewer's screen and will activate if you hover your cursor along the bottom of the screen. Once you see the icon appear, simply click the icon and a dialog box will become available for you to enter your question. We'll do our best to answer questions as they come up during the presentation, time allowing, of course, and we'll prioritize callers' questions after we do the written questions and responses. And Caitlin always helps us facilitate those questions, so a big thank you to her. But just know if we're getting a bunch of the same questions, we often lump them into one question, one response, just to save time and to try to get through pretty much everybody's questions the best we can. Okay, so big question, when will the portal open and when does it expire? So the portal is going to open on August 2nd. So that's right around the corner coming up next week. We'll be opening the portal for 90 days. And so the portal will expire at 11:59 p.m. on October 30th. So you have 90 days to get your resubmission, your complete resubmission into the portal. You'll be able to find access to the portal link on the county's website. So once the portal opens, the link to the portal will be made available on the county's cannabis page. If you just go to the Cannabis Application Portal System page, which you'll see on the left-hand side of the county's cannabis page, in the green bar on the left-hand side. If you click into there, there is a spot that will have the link posted as soon as we open the portal. How are applicants being notified about the portal? Applicants are being notified largely via legal notification processes, such as the notices that we printed in the Ukiah Daily Journal on July 18th, and the Willits Daily News on July 21st, and the Anderson Valley Advertiser on July 21st. Notices were also sent out via Canon Notes. We are going to push out another notice to folks via Canon Notes here probably tomorrow. And then we've been pushing notices out on Facebook. I know we're getting a lot of questions about why we aren't calling and emailing each and every applicant that needs to utilize this portal. And a lot of the reason for not doing that is that we have no way of conducting a mass export out of our systems, our tracking systems, to be able to conduct that sort of a mailer. We would have to manually extract and align close to 700 email addresses if we have them and if they are current, and or phone numbers to try to do that sort of endeavor. We don't necessarily have the staff for that. And then we also have quite outdated records for many applicants who applied back in 2017, 2018, and the last application year being 2019 for phase one. So we are relying on public legal notices for this portal, as well as Canon notes, social media. We've done some radio spots, and we're hoping all of you will talk to everyone you know and let them know that this portal is opening on August 2nd and has a 90-day window. So who should use the portal for reapplication? The portal was designed and built for reapplication of phase one and phase two cultivators only. So really we're talking about phase one and phase two cultivators with applications pending review pursuant to section 10A17 of Mendocino County's Cultivation Ordinance. And then there's two statuses that we put on phase one and phase two cultivators. So anyone in that phase one and phase two application pool, right, who has not received an annual license, that has a status of portal, as noted on the portal list, and we'll talk about where to find that in a bit, should be reapplying through the portal system. And really, they're the only individuals that will be able to create a portal account because we've loaded all of those AG numbers into the back end of the portal. Phase one and phase two cultivators with applications that are posted as in good standing do not need to resubmit their phase one or phase two application via the portal. As a matter of fact, those numbers won't even work in the portal because we did not submit the AG numbers for folks that are in good standing. Only those with a status of portal have been submitted and have been loaded into the back end of this portal system. You can find the portal list by following the link on the County of Mendocino's page to the cannabis application portal system. And then if you scroll down to the bottom of that page, there is a portal list. That portal list, when you click through, will open up a PDF, and all of the applications, phase one and phase two applications, whether you're on the portal list or you're in good standing, are listed by year and then in numerical order. So it should be pretty easy for you to scroll through and find your application number and see whether you should be reapplying through the portal or if you are in good standing. This interesting white box on this one. Can you renew an annual cultivation permit using the portal? And the answer is no to that. So again, we did preload applications, phase one and phase two applications that need to reapply through the portal into the back end. There's not a single annual permit number that has been submitted to the portal, so none of them will work, okay? If you want to, or it's time to, renew your application for an annual permit, you need to do that via email. So completed renewal packets for annual permits can be emailed to cannabisprogram@mendocinocounty.org. And if you're unsure about the status of your annual cultivation permit, or you're like, man, I thought I had this embossed receipt, but I don't see it on the portal list. Maybe I got a permit and I can't tell the difference. You can go to the cannabis application renewal page on the County of Mendocino's website, and there is a list of permit numbers there. That list is titled Valid and Expired Permits. And again, it is divided or sorted by year and then numerically within each year that the permits were the AG numbers. For the AG numbers, my apologies. So if it's AG 2017, you can look for your permit number in the 2017 area and of the list, and then it will tell you whether what the status is of your permit. Is it valid or expired? So if you're not sure if you have an application or a permit, you can refer to these two lists to try to figure it out. And if you do have a permit and you're not sure about the status of your permit, this valid and expired permit list on the renewal page is really the list you want to be checking out. Can folks apply for new cultivation permits using the portal? No, we can't do that either right now. Again, the portal is only going to accept AG numbers for phase 1 and phase 2 applicants who have been given the status of portal, meaning that they need to reapply so we can get current materials and completed applications from them. So no new applications through the portal at this time. Can you submit county forms that were filled out previously, or do you have to use the county's updated forms? You can absolutely submit county forms that you filled out previously, so long as the information in those forms is still representative of your operations. So really, a lot of the goal with this portal is to get the most up-to-date and accurate information from each applicant, so that we not only have complete applications, we have current applications to process into, hopefully into permits. So getting these complete applications with accurate, up-to-date information is what's going to help ensure efficiency when we review the applications. And I want to say this here because I know there's a lot of angst about the portal, the fact that it's a 90-day window. The applications that come in through the portal will not be reviewed for quality, meaning that when your materials come into us via the portal, the review that we're conducting is really to see if you have a complete application. There's no time within that 90 days for us to evaluate the quality of the materials you're putting into the portal. And I'm going to try to say this repeatedly throughout this presentation because it seems like it's one of the most concerning components to the portal that folks express back to us, is they just are very concerned they aren't going to get reviewed in that 90 days. And I want to reassure everyone that we are not reviewing these applications for quality of materials or compliance with 10A17. We're actually looking to see if you gave us everything that's on the checklist, and within the items on the checklist, did you fill out all of the criteria, say on the application or the cultivation and operations plan form? Did you sign all of the documents you needed to sign? So I'm going to try to bring this up repeatedly, but again, we're doing the portal. Applications that come in through the portal are going to go through a step 1 completeness check, right? Once you're determined to be complete, you can move on to step 2, which is being assigned to a planner for review. But the portal is really just a step 1 completeness check to make sure that we have all of the information and materials we need from each of you applicants to actually assign those materials to a planner for a phase 2 or step 2 review process. I left this slide in here. I know just before our last portal workshop last week, we had, in the beginning of the month, put together and put up on our website a new site plan guidance document. That site plan guidance document created a lot of angst for folks in the community. We have since reverted back to the January 2021 site plan guidance document. So absolutely, I'm still getting these questions. If you look on the forms page of the website, it is the original January 2021 site plan guidance document that's listed there. You can absolutely submit site plans that are cohesive or based on that guidance document. However, I just want folks to be aware that there's a number of items required pursuant to 10A17 for site plans specifically that are not listed on the January 2021 site plan guidance document. Sometimes we can piecemeal these requirements together, which we really don't like to do. And oftentimes what we end up doing is during the review, not during the portal completeness review or checklist, but during the planner's review in phase 2 or step 2 of this application process, the planner might circle back with you to request that additional items be added to the site plan to ensure that we can verify compliance with Chapter 10A17. So let's see, let me make sure oops, sorry. Okay, making sure I'm in the right spot. Sorry about that. So in the portal, what if the cultivation permit requires a secondary permit, such as an administrative permit or a use permit? Lots of questions coming up about whether or not folks will be able to submit those additional permits through the portal. The answer is no. The portal is not designed to accept applications for administrative permits or use permits. And then we didn't build it in as a feature for folks to voluntarily identify, hey, yes, I need to do an administrative permit or a use permit. But don't worry about that, really. If your cultivation permit requires an additional permit, such as an administrative permit or a use permit, as we mentioned, the MCP staff will request that information during the second step of this application process, which will be after your complete application has been assigned to a planner and it's undergoing review. And you're going to have to hold on for just a minute. I think I'm going to. Okay, excuse me. Sorry about that. I am back. So again, we'll reach out to you after we've determined that your permit resubmission is complete. And during the second stage, the review process, we'll reach out to you if an administrative permit or use permit is required, and we will have you submit it directly to us, not through the portal. Lots of questions about signing documents. Documents can be signed using an electronic signature or a wet signature. So whichever you prefer and whichever is, I think, going to be the easiest for you. So you have both options to use an electronic signature or a wet signature to sign documents that you'll be submitting through the portal. Will there be a fee associated with reapplying through the portal? And the answer to this is no, there is not a fee associated with reapplying through the portal. However, there may be additional fees associated with achieving a cultivation permit. Some of these fees could be like a permit issuance fee. So currently every applicant has paid an application fee that includes a bunch of items like environmental health referral and an inspection fee, and a couple other things are built into that. And then there's a permit issuance fee that is billed to the applicant at the time of issuing the permit. So that fee would still be outstanding. There may be building permit fees outstanding. There might be well permit fees or other agencies' fees, such as lake and stream bed alteration agreements, Cal Cannabis licensing fees, water board fees, etc. Once your reapplication is deemed complete, the application will be assigned to a planner for review, as I mentioned before, and then the assigned planner will notify the applicant should additional permits and or fees be required, and when and how to go about paying those, right? So if they're with us, we'll set up an appointment with you for that. And if they're with PBS or a different agency, we'll provide some guidance on how to reach out and contact those agencies. Lots of questions about sensitive species habitat review questionnaires and the contiguous expansion affidavit. So can you submit both of those through the portal? And the answer is no. What we're asking folks to do is to pick the pathway for fulfilling the sensitive species habitat review. So you really can only submit one or the other. You're either going to submit a questionnaire, a completed questionnaire, and potentially supporting materials for that questionnaire, or you're going to submit a contiguous expansion affidavit. So when you get to the question page, and we're going to walk through the question page pretty thoroughly when we do the tour of the portal. When you get to the question page, applicants will be asked to identify which document they plan to submit for sensitive species habitat review. Are you submitting a questionnaire, or are you submitting a contiguous expansion definition or affidavit? My apologies. The SSHR pathway that you select on the questionnaire page will determine the item required for upload. So if you state on the questionnaire page that you're submitting a sensitive species habitat review questionnaire, then when you get to the uploads page, you'll be required to upload that questionnaire. And then also, because questionnaires often require additional materials such as a bullfrog management plan if you have a pond, or an artificial light management plan if you're using any sort of supplemental lighting, or a generator noise plan if you have a generator, these upload options will automatically become available in case you need to upload supplemental materials along with your questionnaire. If you are submitting a contiguous expansion affidavit, and that is the option you select on the questionnaire page, you will need to upload the executed affidavit and the supporting materials as one combined PDF. We didn't make two spots for, one for the affidavit and then one for the verification materials. You're going to put all of that into one PDF and upload it as one PDF under the contiguous expansion affidavit section, if that's the choice that you made. We are requiring that folks submit a valid state cultivation license from Cal Cannabis, now the Department of Cannabis Control. And this is really important. If you are currently cultivating, you have to have a valid cultivation license to be conducting that cultivation. The permits that we provide at the county level and the embossed receipts that we provide at the county level do not provide you the right to cultivate. What they do provide you is local authorization to apply to the state for a license to cultivate at the scale and the location that is noted on that local authorization, whether it's a permit or an embossed receipt. So if you're cultivating, you need to have a valid cultivation license issued by the Department of Cannabis Control in order to be conducting those cultivation activities. And so you're going to have to upload your valid state cultivation license into the portal. If you're under the process or in the process of applying, and that's, where you are with the state, please do submit proof of application, and we'll verify that, but you can submit that you have your proof of application to the Department of Cannabis Control is an option. And then if you're not cultivating and you have chosen not to, pay for the expense of the state license because you're not cultivating, please write us a note in document form or convert it into a PDF and then upload that explanation so that we have something to understand what your state of cultivation is and where you are with your state license requirements for this item. So there's a couple options there. So please do make sure that you upload something for the valid state cultivation license. And if you're not cultivating, just upload a brief statement telling us that you're not cultivating, so you have not sought or applied for a state cultivation license. Lots of questions about Appendix G and if Appendix G materials can be submitted through the portal, and the answer is no. The biggest reason why we're not accepting Appendix G materials through the portal is that only cultivators who have valid cultivation permits that were issued pursuant to Chapter 10A17 are eligible for submitting Appendix G checklist materials. If you are listening to this presentation and or picking it up after the fact on the YouTube channel, know that if you're a permit holder needing to submit an Appendix G checklist and supplemental materials, that should be sent to the cannabis program via email to our cannabis program at mendocinocounty.org email. And we're requesting that folks use the following subject line, but they include their AG number and CEQA guidelines Appendix G review. Having the AG number in there is really helpful if we need to go back and search emails for submissions and dates and additional materials and whatnot. So again, only permit holders are eligible to submit Appendix G materials. Applicants are not eligible to submit Appendix G materials. So there's no place in the portal to upload your Appendix G materials. So let's take a little tour of the portal, if we may. Setting up your portal user account. Once you go to the link, when we get it posted on the website and the portal becomes live, you click the link and it will take you through to this initial page. If you've already set up your user account, you literally can just put your email and your password in and hit login, and then you'll be in the portal. But first-time users need to put in an email and click register. And that will get you into this page. So when you register, you're going to have to put in all of this information. You're going to have to put your email address in twice just to make sure that you don't accidentally misspell your email and the notices aren't really going to come to you, right? So you have to put your email address in twice to make sure that there's no errors. You need to provide a first name and a last name, no matter what. And then you need to provide a telephone number. So this could be, if you're an agent or a consultant for multiple people, this would be your agent or consultant information, your business information. If you're logging in and creating a user account as an applicant, this is going to be the information that you want us to be able to get a hold of you at, right? And so this is what it will look like when you get in there to set it up. So you get all this information in there and you hit register, and you're going to get a notice that your account has been registered, and you need to check the email address that you just used in setting up this account. So you go to your email and you'll have a notice from us. This says Hello Cannabis Program because this is our test run, but it'll probably say, if I had done it, it would say, hello, Kristen Novedal. Welcome to the MC portal. Your account has been registered and I've been issued a temporary password. So what I would do is click through on the activation link, and then I would put in my temporary password. So the activation link is going to take me back to the login. And then I'm going to have to put in a new password. So you don't have to stick with the temporary password. The first time you enter into the portal through that activation link, you're going to be required to set your own password. And then once you get into the portal, and every time you enter into the portal, you're going to land on this introduction page. And you're going to have to give me just a moment so I can sneeze. Okay, sorry about that. So this introduction page is basically the landing page. And so every time you log in, this is what you're going to see. This is where you'll land. And on the left-hand side here, where we see introduction in the tan block, that just lets us know that we're on the introduction page. But anytime you're in the portal, you can click through to any of these other pages, to the permits page, to the FAQ page, or to the contact page, and we'll walk you through that information as we go forward here. Introduction, as I mentioned, is the landing page. The permits page is the page that you're going to go to anytime you want to start a permit or an application, getting the information into the portal. And it's also the page that you want to go to anytime you want to change the application you're working on or continue working on an application submission that is, partway, you have to finish up, say. The FAQ page, if you get stuck at any time during the portal process when you're in the portal, we recommend that you go to the FAQ page to check and see if there's a solution there. So we've taken all of the questions from this and a bunch of questions from our informational services folks, and we've built them into the FAQ page, which will be housed inside of the portal, and they're available for you if you get stuck. If you really can't find what you need on that FAQ page and you're really stuck and stumped, please feel free to contact us. So on the contact page, you'll find the cannabis program email address. And really, email is the very best way to get a hold of us. Phone calls take much longer to get a response simply because emails are very easy for us to review, and there are a number of us reviewing those emails. And so emails, quick responses. And then also, if it's an email that we can't answer, we can forward that over to informational services, and they can respond to you and answer any sort of technical questions that might be occurring. So, again, you're always going to land when you come into the portal on this introduction page, and then you can go to the permits page. Just simply by clicking the word permits on the left-hand side there. The first time you go in and you haven't started a reapplication, you're going to see this screen that says you have no permits. So you'll click the green button that says to start a permit right here, and you'll start moving through the process. The permit page, like once you submit or click start a permit, you come to this page, which is for a new permit only. So anytime you have a new permit that you're starting, it's going to ask you for the assessor parcel number and the AG number or the permit number. Now, those pieces are really important because not only did we, as I mentioned before, build into the back end of the system a safety check that includes all of the AG numbers that are required to come through this portal. We also loaded into the back system all of the parcel numbers that are associated with those AG numbers. So you're going to have to use a valid parcel number as associated with your permit to get this screen to move beyond this screen, okay? And if you error, it'll give you some asterisks showing you what's errored on here, but you need to fill out the permit information and the applicant information. You can leave the agent information blank to move forward, but at minimum, all of the permit information and all of the applicant information needs to be filled out here. And I want to really emphasize that the applicant information that you enter into this screen is the information we will use to contact you going forward. So please don't give us an email address that you hardly ever use because you're afraid of having it in our portal system, say. This really is going to be what we rely on in the MCP to contact you. So this is crucial information here. Make sure you give us the best way to get a hold of you in this application information section. And then also, if you do have an agent on record that you want us to release information to and receive information from, please make sure that that party's information gets put into the screen. And in addition to putting it here, you'll still have to upload an agent information or an agent consent form because we do need you to sign and verify that that agent is eligible for receiving information on your application and also submitting information on your behalf. So this is our primary contact information page. Please be sure to give us all of the information about how you prefer that we contact you. Once you have created a permit, you can go on to starting the permit questionnaire. So you get all the information into the screen, the previous screen that we looked at, and then you submit, and then you'll get a notice that says start permit questionnaire, and you'll click that notice, and that will move you over to this questionnaire page. And then give me just okay, sorry about that. So the questionnaire page is incredibly important because the questionnaire page is, while it seems like it's a lot of questions and might take a bit of time, it really is what determines the uploads that will be required of you on the upload documents page. And I just want to point out that anytime you're in the questionnaire page, You can go back and verify the permit and contact information by simply clicking on this blue permit and contact information tab that's at the top of your screen. And as we move forward through this process of submitting a reapplication for permit, we'll point out that all of these headers are live, right? You can go from the question, the permit and contact information page to the upload documents page and back to the questionnaire page as much as you need to throughout the course of being in the portal. If you're on the questionnaire page or any of the pages I mentioned that are highlighted in the top of the screen, if you want to work on a different permit, you can simply click the permits page and it will show you all of the permits you've started and you can click through to a different permit to work on. If at any time in any of these pages that appear across the top of your screen, you have a question, you can click through and look at the FAQs and click right back to permit or questionnaire or upload documents. So all of these links are available and you can move through the different pages pretty seamlessly. Additionally, as you're filling out the questions here on the screen, the data that you fill in, just like the data that you filled in during the permit and contact information page, that data is automatically saved. So if you get called away or you're flipping back and forth between screens, you don't have to look for a way to save the information you put into the portal. It automatically saves it as you move through. And we'll talk about the one exception to that, which is on the upload documents page when we get to that page. I do want to mention that some of these pages, some of these questions have numbers associated with them. So, for example, will you be providing an appropriative water right? You're going to have a yes or no opportunity to answer this. And if you say yes, it's going to want to know how many appropriative water rights you are submitting. If you say 1, you're only going to have 1 space to upload an appropriative water right on the upload documents page. If you say that you have 2 appropriative water rights to upload, it'll provide you 2 separate upload spaces for appropriative water rights when you get to the upload page. This is really important because, a lot of folks have employees, for example. You want to make sure that when you get to the employee question, you put in the number of employees that are going to appear on your employee list. And that's everyone. That's you as the applicant. That's anyone else who's an owner. That's anyone else who's an employee that requires a submission of their ID and a live scan. So when you say you have 10 employees altogether on the questionnaire page, you will get 10 locations to name the employee and provide each employee's color ID, a photo of their color ID, and a location for each of those employees' live scan to be uploaded. So it's important that you complete all of the information on this page. You can't get through to the next page until you've completed this page. So it's going to force you to actually answer all of these questions. And then when we talk about the numbers, there are a couple of things to be aware of. So say you get to your uploads page and you're like, man, I had 10 employees, but really I should only have put in 9 employees. Well, you can't make a number smaller, okay? But you can increase the number. So if you put in 10 employees and you forgot to add yourself, so you should have had 11, you can go back to that questionnaire page and up it to 11 or 12 or 15, but you can't reduce it. So if you said you had 10 employees and then you get to the uploads and you realize you only had 9, or you said you had 2 water sources, but you really only have 1, what you're going to need to do is on the uploads page, you're going to have to upload materials for each of the 10 employees. And if you don't have 10 employees, then on that 10th employee that you made the error for, you're going to upload just a document with a statement saying, I actually only have 9 employees and errored, right? So you'll just upload that document in error. So hopefully that helps, but this is going to be, as I mentioned, in the FAQ. So you can always reflect back on this if you get stuck. And as I mentioned, if you get called away from the portal before you finish, or you have to go on to do something else, or you're flipping back and forth from screens and potentially permit to permit, the portal will automatically save all of the information you've entered into a field. The only time a portal will not save an item is if for some reason an upload is interrupted before it is completed. So once you get through all of the questions, you're going to hit submit at the bottom of the question page, and then it'll move you on to upload documents. So everyone has to upload an application, for example. So for this, you'll go over here and you'll click the choose file, and you'll be able to find in your folders the application to upload, and then you'll just upload it. Very similar to how the CalCannabis portal works, or any other kind of permitting portals that you are familiar with. Down here at the bottom, you can see a little sample of what the employee list looks like. So you put in the first name, the last name, and the date of birth of that employee. If you have employee number 10 and you really only had 9 employees, you could just put John Doe or Jane Doe in here and zeros for the date of birth, and then upload the files that explain that you errored on the question page. If you get here and you have 1 employee and you needed 2, you go back to the questionnaire page, which you can do by just clicking at the top here, and you add an employee. You will get a second or a third or a fourth, depending on how many you add, options to upload. So you can increase the number once you filed that questionnaire, but you just can't decrease the number. So once you upload your documents, you will get a message that looks like this. That will tell you that the upload is complete, and it will give you this file number will be the file name that you have assigned the file. Okay. You don't need to worry about a naming protocol for us, because this portal will automatically rename your files per our naming convention. So you can use whatever file names you need to keep your files organized. These are example files that we uploaded. The files will be renamed in the back end before being sent to us, so that we know exactly what each of these is. So you'll see whatever file name you used and that the upload is complete. If you decide to submit, hit the submit button before you've done all of your uploads, you're going to get an error page. That error page looks like this, and it will tell you which documents you have not yet uploaded. It will give you a list if there's more than one. And then you'll be like, oh man, I forgot my well permits, well completion report. So you just click back onto the blue upload documents, and then you find that item and you go ahead and you upload it. So at any time, you can go back through any of these pages and check what you've uploaded, check the answer on the questionnaires, check the information on the permit and contact page. It's pretty easy to just flip back and forth by using these headers here in blue. Once you've gotten everything into the portal, you'll get a message that says your permit is ready to be submitted. You've answered all the questions, all the fields are filled in, everything's uploaded. But before you hit the submit permit button, we really advise folks to go back and check the materials and make sure that you've uploaded everything that you wanted uploaded, that it's the proper version that you wanted in there, that you didn't accidentally upload 2 cultivation and ops plans, one for an application and one for a cultivation and operations plan area, so to speak. So we really recommend you take the time to go back through and verify the information that you put into the portal, because once you hit the submit permit button, it seals that AG numbers application and it sends it to us. You cannot get back into it. So you basically hitting submit portal seals that application shut, and it sends it off to the MCP for a completeness check. And I'm going to mute for just a moment again. My apologies. Okay, so once you hit the submit permit button, there's no way to retract that action. That is a final action, so please make sure you're absolutely sure you're ready to send before you hit submit permit. Wrong button. So once you hit submit permit, you'll see on the permits page the AG number, the APN that it's associated with, the address for that permit, and then you'll see that it was sent to us. That is an indicator that that permit that you were working on was submitted and sent to us. You can always start another one. So if you have a cultivation site and a nursery, you can start your nursery. You can start both of them and work on them at the same time. But if you start another permit, you'll see the same AG number information, but it will not have a status of sent because it will be in progress. So let's talk about the review process here. So when you submit a permit and it is sent off to us, right, we're going to review those applications in the order that they were submitted. There's not going to be any exceptions to that. So what we get on our end is a shared file with all of your application materials in them. So each applicant will have their own file folder with the materials that they've put into the portal in that file folder. And we get a printout that says the date and the time of the day that the application was submitted. And so we're going to review the applications for completeness based on the time of day and the date that they're submitted to the portal, okay? If your application is deemed complete, meaning, yep, I've got an application that came in, they filled out all of the areas of the application, they signed the application, they moved through the checklist and filled out all of the information on all the forms and signed all the forms. They didn't give me blank documents for a site plan, just as an example. And we deem that application complete. We're going to email the applicant and the agent if there's an agent on file in the portal. And we're going to let you know that your application is complete and that we've gone ahead and assigned the application to a planner for further review. Now, if during that completeness check, we determine that your application is incomplete because maybe you goofed and uploaded two permit applications instead of a permit application, a Cult and Ops Plan, or you didn't sign any of your documents, or you gave us a blank paper for a site plan. I mean, who the heck knows, right? So if we determine that your application is incomplete, we're going to email the applicant and the agent, if there's one on record, with the date that we will be reopening the portal so that you can complete your application. And we're also going to send you in that email a checklist, and that checklist will help identify which item or items we determined are not complete so that you can really focus on those items to get them fixed in the portal when we reopen it for you. But it's very important to note that this portal under all circumstances expires on October 30th. So if you get your application in the last couple of weeks of October and we determine that it's incomplete, there's the possibility that there will not be enough time for us to reopen the portal for you, right? So application that comes in on the 26th, if we determine it's incomplete on the 29th, there might not be enough time for you to manage what you need to complete in the portal. So please, please, please do submit your materials early in this process. It's a really great advantage to applicants to submit their materials as early as possible in this process. Okay, so we've made it through the presentation, and now we have an opportunity to have some discussion. I'm happy to answer questions and discuss concerns and hear concerns about the portal. I'm going to request that people do drop your questions into the chat feature if you have not done so yet. If you're a caller and would like to ask a question through your phone, you can raise your hand on your phone, and that will let us know to unmute you when we get to the caller time so that we can hear your question as well. And I just want to note that it's so incredibly important that for questions and all kind of interactions with the Mendocino Cannabis Program, that folks use the primary contact, our email as the primary contact. Again, that email address is cannabisprogram@mendocinocounty.org. I want everyone to think of that email address as the central dispatch for all things cannabis program related. We have a very lean and mean and tough staff. They work incredibly hard, and they're super committed. And so running everything through the cannabis program lets us then allocate workloads so we don't have duplicative work, and we also don't have imbalanced workloads on any one individual in our department. So please do not email the planners directly unless they specifically, and I mean specifically, ask you to, right? Everything can come through the cannabis program. Caitlin and I are in there every single day responding to emails. Every single one of the planners and all of our staff has access to that inbox, so we can share and see emails back and forth amongst everyone in the staff or on our staff team. Please do not email planners or the cannabis manager directly or Caitlin directly. It just makes for a duplicative workload. And then it can be hard if I have the same emails coming into my box and I'm responding to in cannabis program. It's almost impossible to track what I responded to and what I didn't. The same is true for the planners and or Caitlin. And then best way to make sure that you get information from us and notifications is to sign up for the Canna Notes. That is also right on our website. You can find e-notifications listed on the left-hand side in the green bar for our website. So with that said, I'm going to stop talking for a moment. I'm going to hand it over to Caitlin. Caitlin's going to kick off our question and answer period, and we'll try to get through everyone's questions and also questions from folks on their phones. So Caitlin, if you would be so kind as to start the questions, I am going to mute for a moment.
The first question is, do we need to do new live scans?
I think you only need to do new live scans if you have new employees, right? But if you have the same employees and nothing has changed for that employee, they don't have some sort of disqualifying conviction that might have come up, you can absolutely submit the employee's name, their date of birth. We do need a valid driver's license in that ID section or government issued ID, but we don't need new live scans. So unless it's someone new on your employee list.
Regarding employees, if you're in the process of hiring, but that process has not been completed yet, should we say that so they typically have 3 employees and they currently only have 2. And what they're asking is if they should say 2 or if they should say 3 due to the fact that they'll be hiring someone soon.
I think we can leave that up to the user's discretion, frankly. If you have 2 employees that have been with you for a while, you could easily enter just 2 employees. But if you know you're bringing someone on in the immediate future, you could enter 3 employees and then just upload information in the, hey, I haven't hired this person, but we're we're doing interviews, say. So I know we'll be hiring a third employee soon. So I'm just providing you with a notice that I'm saying 3 employees because we're hiring someone. So you could write that little message in a document format and you could upload it for your third employee. Again, you'd want to use like a Jane Doe or a fictitious name, and then you could use zeros for the birth date. And then you'd have to provide us that document stating why you selected 3 if you only have 2 scans and IDs and employees today. You'd want to give us that memo when you upload the ID for that third employee, and then you can just repeat that same memo as the upload for the live scan. So I think we can leave that up to you. Once your application is deemed complete, during the review process, once you're assigned to a planner in that second phase or stage of the application process, the planners will verify that you still only have the same number of employees that you uploaded into the portal and that none of them have changed. So that is one of the areas that we will verify at the second step in the review process. So there's a couple different ways to deal with that. Sorry for not having a one-size-fits-all answer there.
Okay. The cultivation plan now asks for a narrative description of all cultivation activities prior to May 4th, 2017. On what basis is this information being requested? There are many circumstances where an applicant may not be able to describe all previous activities on the property. If they aren't relevant to a contiguous expansion affidavit, can the activities be omitted?
I think I'm a little confused by the question. I am going to pull up the cultivation plan because I don't think that is on the site plan requirements. Are you talking about I guess the question is, I think we're talking about the cultivation and ops plan. So in the cultivation and ops plan, you could just give us a brief written description of what other activities occur on the property. So maybe you also have cattle or chickens, or maybe you also have veggies and you conduct farmers market. Maybe your property is a timber harvest or timber production zone and you've conducted logging associated with a previous timber harvest plan. If you don't have or don't know what other activities might have been conducted because you relocated to the property you're on, say, right, so you're a relocation application, you can put that it's not applicable in that area. We will come back to you if we have questions, not during the completeness check, but during the second step, the review process for the completed application. So I hope that helps. And I think this is about the cultivation and ops plan. Did I get that right, Caitlin?
It just says cultivation plan. I believe that it's referring to the cultivation and operations plan, but I can't guarantee it. Kristen, are you ready for the next question?
Yes, my apologies. I am ready for the next question.
The cultivation plan asks about processing activities and in which structure they take place. What if certain activities don't take place in a structure? For example, trimming may take place outdoors. Also, is bucking considered drying or trimming?
Yeah, so all post-harvest activities are considered processing. So once you cut the plant, right, and you are handling the plant material, whether you're drying it or you're bucking it for a fresh frozen, whatever it might be, that's a processing activity. So I would just write a description on your cultivation and ops plan. And if you're bucking, that might actually be in the field and move around the field, so to speak, right? You might have your bucking machine be in one section of your field next to one greenhouse or next to one outdoor plot, and then move to the other side of the property or the other side of the farm to a different plot. So you could just give us a description in the cultivation and ops plan. If there's not a building associated with it, just explain that to us in that field, in that cultivation and ops plan, so we know. So I think, just do your best to identify the activity, and if it's not in a building, just give us a description of how you're conducting that processing activity. And if it moves around because it's in the field, so to speak, of the farm, just let us know that. And Caitlin, I'm ready to go on to the next question.
Thank you. Can the structures list indicate the permit number as in process? Some of our clients are planning to construct new buildings and hoop houses.
Yeah, absolutely. As much information as you can give us on that structures list is super helpful. So if you have a permit associated with the building you're listing there, feel free to put the permit number on it. If you haven't yet applied for it, just list the building. Like say you have greenhouses and you haven't applied for your egg exempt structures, right? Your egg exempt permits, for example. List the hoop houses, give us the dimensions, give us a description of what they're used for. Once your application is determined to be complete, when it is assigned to a planner and we're doing that secondary review process, if we don't see your permits listed on the structures list and we don't see any associated permits listed in Track-It, we'll come back to you and ask you to go get those permits. We'll want you to be moving forward with those permits before we can issue you a permit for cultivation. But, we aren't going to mark your application incomplete when it comes to the portal if you don't have all of the building permits listed on that structures list. I'm ready for the next question, Caitlin.
Thank you. Kristen, you mentioned when addressing the permit system submission that you can jump back and forth between permits, and it sounded like you indicated that a cultivation permit and nursery permit would be a distinct application. I was of the impression that a cultivation permit and a nursery permit on the same site would be best presented as a single application. Is it appropriate to submit a single permit application for a single site if there will be both cultivation and a commercial nursery? Or should that be two independent permit submissions?
Yeah, that's a great question. They would have to be independent permit submissions through the portal, simply because each of those activities has their own AG number. So when you're looking at the projects or the activities that you have going on your APN, everything that has an AG, a distinctive AG number, needs its own submission through the portal. So if you're working on both a cultivation permit and a nursery permit, you can go back and forth between those, but you would have to start individual and unique reapplication permits for each of those two items because they have different AG numbers. And I'm ready for the next question, Caitlin.
I do want to note that on that previous question, the portal system is not for new applications. And I just want to make sure that that's clear to everyone. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for that, Caitlin. So if you have a cultivation application with us and you want to add a nursery, say, You can still do that, but you could not do that in the portal. You'd run your cultivation application through the portal, and then you'd have to contact us using cannabisprogram@mendocinocounty.org to move forward with adding a nursery, say, as an example.
In the last session, there was a comment on expired water board documents, such as the SIUR and notice of applicability, and potentially redoing the water board permits. Could you go through the potential issue there one more time?
Yeah, thank you for that. We can't accept expired notifications for Department of Fish and Wildlife. So if you notified in 2017, just as an example, but you for some reason didn't follow through with your notification, so you never moved forward into an operation of law or a draft agreement, say, or received a letter saying that you're exempt from the Lake and Streamlet Alteration Agreement requirements, we wouldn't be accepting a notification for Lake and Streamlet Alteration Agreement that's dated 2017, because obviously that is no longer valid today in 2021. We need the most up-to-date current information possible. So if you just re-notified, give us that notification, please. If you're just received your draft back from DFW, even if you haven't signed it, upload that document so we can show progress. A notice of applicability that was filed in 2018 or 2019 that hasn't been issued, again, that's not going to be a valid document for us. We need to have a current environmental document for these pieces so that we know that what we're receiving is actually up to date, and that you are currently engaged with the environmental agency to meet the compliance requirements for your cultivation site. I think we're ready for the next question, Caitlin.
Okay. Please confirm that we can apply for a nursery permit on an existing cultivation permit application. We were under the impression that all new permits needed to wait until phase 3.
No, you're still able to add a nursery permit as a secondary item. You cannot apply for a new standalone activity, but you can add a nursery still. You just can't do it through the portal. So if you have questions about, say, adding a nursery to your location where you have a pending cultivation permit or you haven't issued a permit, please do email us, cannabisprogram@mendocinocounty.org, and we can assist you with that process. Another question?
I understand that the sitemap requirement update has now been reverted to the original on the website. Can you please clarify the status of what is correct and where it is accurately listed?
Well, I don't have them in front of me, but I can tell you this much. The site plan guidance document that's on the website, there's a number of items that aren't included in that guidance document that was approved by Planning and Building Services in January of 2021. And some of those items include waterways, culverts, and graded flats. So it is possible that once your application is deemed complete and we move forward with the review of that completed application, that the planner may come back and ask you to identify those items on your site plan.
Regarding LSIA submittal, can you upload the 2019-2020 receipt and the most current communication with CDFW? There are instances where CDFW has waited over a year to get to this point.
I mean, you can. We're going to verify with CDFW that you're in good standing. So in order, like that's going to look old to us. I can tell you that much. So in those cases, we're going to be reaching out to DFW to ensure that you actually are in good standing and moving that notification forward. So it could take some time off of the completeness check clock, so to speak. But if that's all you have, then yes, please, I suggest that that's what you upload. But just know that it will take extra time because we'll be going back to DFW to verify that that's still a valid in-process notification.
And that is all of the questions that were open.
Okay.
If you'd like to move on to caller questions.
Yeah, please, let's do that now. Thank you, Caitlin.
If you are a call-in participant and you have a question, please raise your hand so that we can allow you to speak. If you are on a phone, I believe that it is *9 to raise your hand. Kristen, I'm not seeing any raised hands, but I did have another question come in through the Q&A feature.
Okay, great.
And that is, since 2218 is on hold, is there any reason that we couldn't extend the window beyond 90 days? Would that just require board approval?
The portal timeline really did not have anything to do with 2218. The portal timeline really is, we're running out of time at the state level. So, we have until July 1st of 2023 to not only get everyone who can qualify for permits issued, but also to receive their Appendix G checklist. That is not very much time. And while we are as a department looking to staff up and we're working through those processes to start getting notices out for staffing as soon as physically possible, 90 days it's so important that we don't have the timeline pushed out for receiving complete applications, because we literally cannot review applications without having up-to-date materials that are complete. So I'm generally not supportive under any circumstances of extending the portal timeline. The portal timeline was established prior to me taking this position. So it's always been a 90-day window. We put a lot of work in, specifically informational services has put a lot of work in making this portal incredibly user-friendly. But again, we are running out of time at the state level to move folks through this application process. And without up-to-date materials for our planners to review, we aren't going to meet those deadlines. So I don't think it really behooves the applicants whatsoever to consider extending this 90-day window. So I guess I'll just leave it there. That's my response to that question. Any other questions, Caitlin? Okay. Well, with that said, we could potentially wrap this up early. Let me just emphasize a couple of things here before we go. Again, I want to make sure everyone is really clear that The portal process is not a review for approving or issuing a permit. It is a review for us getting a complete application from each of these applicants that has the most up-to-date information in it. That is the goal and pretty much the sole goal of the portal process. If you have any questions whatsoever about the portal, please do check out our website. There's a ton of information on the website about the portal. It has its own page. If you have questions above and beyond what can be answered on the website, do not hesitate to email us using cannabisprogram@mendocinocounty.org. That is the very best way to get a hold of us. And I would say in most instances, even when Caitlin and I are the most backlogged, we're responding to those emails within 48 hours in almost every instance, and a lot of times sooner. So please, 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 the best way to get your questions answered is to email that question to cannabisprogram@mendocinocounty.org, review the materials on the website, and share this information with your friends, your neighbors, other applicants you're working with, your trade groups. We did post the YouTube link from the 21st session on the portal page on the website. We'll also do the same with this informational session. And Caitlin, did we get any more questions that came in just before we close? Excellent. Thank you for that. I appreciate all the work everyone's done too. So I think it will be a very smooth process for folks. And again, we will be available to answer questions going into the opening of the portal and throughout the course of the portal being open. So with that said, Caitlin, are we ready to wrap this up, even though we're a few minutes early?
Yes, we appear to be ready to wrap everything up.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for joining today. I wish you all a good weekend. The portal opens on August 2nd and will close on October 30th. So thank you for your time, and do email us if you have questions.